Welcome back to another episode of High Level Izm. What's to y'all, man? Y'all straight? You know, a lot of men talk about being humble as if it's the end all be all. A lot of guys think being humble is like protection. They think staying low key is the key to their success. They feel like if they don't brag, take up extra space, stay out the way, if they're not assertive, then people will automatically assume and respect them for being solid. In real life, being humble without the proper structure gets interpreted most times like being available. Availability gets taxed. If you always humble, always understanding, the person that's always patient, you don't become respected. You become useful. Being useful is not the same as being valued. A lot of men were raised to believe that humility is the safest way to move. Don't talk too loud, Don't take up too much space. Don't act like you better than nobody. Just keep your head down, do your work, and eventually people will notice. And I guess at one point in time, that was the mature, honorable thing to do. Humility, I'm not here to tell you that being humble is like, a wrong decision. That's not the angle I'm going for. In my opinion, I feel that most guys that practice humility today, that's not really being humble. They kind of take themselves out the way. They kind of erase their footprint, their presence. It's like they put a clearance tag on their value, and then they act confused when the world starts treating you that way. Because in real life, being humble signals you'll tolerate more, accept less. You'll just keep your mouth closed, even when somebody got the ups on you or getting one over. It's like a signal saying you will do extra work without even asking for the extra pay. That you will carry all type of stuff, quietly, without making noise, without putting up a fight. And in a world where people are driven by incentives, that gets exploited. Sometimes by normal people, and then sometimes by the villains. If being humble makes you the easiest person to lean on, then people are going to follow the least path of resistance and lean on you. And it's going to keep leaning on you until you either break from the pressure or you find a way to change. This is why men need to separate two things: being humble and reducing who you are. It's two different things, but a lot of the time it has a symbiotic relationship. Being humble means your ego don't get bruised easily. You're not fragile. You don't need constant applause all the time. You can respect others without shrinking yourself. Being small means you refuse to advocate for your own position when somebody's trying to put you in that box. It means you let people make you an option. That you will speak softly about your needs, but when it comes to everybody else's, then you the loudest voice in the room. That's what a lot of men call humility today, because it sounds noble, or like back in the day it was all of that. No, this ain't that no more. A lot of people look at niggas being humble as fearful. You might think you be having good manners or considerate or any of that, but Nah. You know, think about the workplace, right? The humblest man is usually the most competent, reliable, and consistent. He shows up on time. He don't take days off. He come to work. He do his job. He don't really complain too much. You know, they pass him over on promotions. He don't trip. You know, and for a while, that's cool. He feel like, you know, my work will speak for itself. But what happens in a lot of environments is the opposite. The loudest person usually becomes the leader. They get the credit. Meanwhile, dude over there being humble, you just become the infrastructure that the loud one builds off of. You know, you become the person that everybody run things through, but nobody celebrates. You end up fixing the problem, but because you did it quietly, then the people in management, they don't even acknowledge you. They just got to keep you comfortable enough so you won't go nowhere and find another job. Then they start piling extra tasks on you. Can you handle this? You know, oh, we trust you. You're the only one who can do it right. And in your mind, you're like, oh man, you know, they acknowledge me, so it sounds like praise. Until you really realize it's just more workload. They exploiting your competence without paying you for it. You know? And meanwhile, the humble man is going to accept it because he don't want to seem difficult and hard to work with and being the one to complain and all of that. You know? He don't want to be arrogant. He don't want no conflict. He just want to make his little bread and go about his way. So he just keep dealing with it. He just keep carrying the extra weight. And then wonder why, you know, it's so much stress. Why he's so resentful. You wasn't being humble. You was just available. You go home, it's the same thing, you know, in your relationship. You show up at work, then you got to go home, and then you trying to prove your value through your stability. Even though the job is shortchanging you, you know what I'm saying? You got to come home and then play a role at the crib. Trying to be patient, being understanding, you know, listening, taking accountability. If something go wrong, you go ahead, hey, look, my bad. Try the same thing. You trying to keep the peace. You trying to keep the calm. You know what I'm saying? You just doing what a real one would do. And I'm not saying that's a bad trait, you know? Never change up who you are. If you feel like you know, that's you, being humble, being out the way, being a bigger person, then by all means be you. I'm just saying have the structure behind it. Because without it, having those traits makes a pathway for people to try and test you all the time. The wrong person not going to see your patience as strength. They're going to see how much you're willing to tolerate. They'll know where to push, how much to push, how far. They'll raise your tone to see if you'll crash. They'll put out all type of demands that's unreasonable to see if you'll try to reach them. They'll disrespect you in different ways. And then watch to see if you're going to correct it or if you're just going to take it. And if you keep taking it, you're teaching them that you can be treated that way. This is why I say the humble man becomes the good guy who ends up losing, because he's good, but he's predictable. He's going to always be the one to try to make it work, to try to be understanding, to be the one who sacrifices. You know? And the minute you get labeled as a sacrifice, man, your value drops in the people who don't respect that part of your character. You thinking you being noble and honorable and all. Man, these people these days, they don't care about none of that, gang. They respect leverage, what they can get up out of you. You know, some people respect your boundaries. A lot of people ain't gonna even think about it until the consequences come. Now they'll respect that. Not the, the roo-rah and hooting and all of that, making a big scene. That don't really usually, because they can flip that and manipulate that. It's usually the quiet when you just fall back. Our friends do it too. You're thinking out of the group, 5, 6 guys, who is always the one that's reliable? It's the humble dude. You could call him when you got to move. He gonna show up. You need a ride. You call in the middle of the night, trying to chop it up like, hey, bro, what I'm saying? I need to talk. He gonna answer. Had good advice for you. I ain't even think about it. I ain't lying. But over time, he becomes a utility. And as friends, no, we not intentionally doing this out of malice, or it's just, we don't even realize that he trained us to treat him like a service, because he never says, I can't, or not today, or nah, I'm cool, that's too much. He just keeps giving and giving. And then one day when he needs the support, ain't nobody there. We all had access to him, but can't return the favor. We can't have the same energy he had for us. He can't lean on us how we leaned on him. And that's just a hypothetical scenario, because I don't treat none of my guys like that, but I'm just saying, it happens. And I'm pretty sure some people probably do be like, yes, you did. Hey, if that's your reality, hey, get it from God. No, it just is what it is though, That's how a man learns. One way, how he learns the difference between being loved and being used, Man, family. Family could be the worst in this scenario. I ain't gonna hold you. Because a lot of people hide under that title of family and tradition. The humble man in these scenarios, but he's the one that likes to keep the peace. He's always forgiving and considerate. He sees the disrespect. It is what it is. We family. He always is the one that keeps the relationship going. So he's traveling to everybody. He's coming where you at. He ain't chopping it up like, oh man, you don't come see me and mess with me like that, cuz what's up? Or, what I'm saying? You ain't, what's up, y'all? Nah, he just gas up and go. He show up. He the fixer. He don't want no drama. But when you realize what's happening, he puts up with extra emotional labor because he don't want to fight. His humbleness becomes the other family member's excuse to keep being dysfunctional. It's like you're enabling this dysfunctional relationship between you and this other party. They keep dropping chaos up at his feet because they know he's gonna be the one to carry it. So when we talk about being humble, humility, what's the real problem? What's the underlying problem? The issue is that when humility is being practiced, and these dynamics I'm talking about is being practiced without a backbone. It's draining you over time. It's draining your time, your peace, your finances. It's costing you your focus. That's why some guys wake up one day feeling exhausted, even though they feel like in different scenarios and dynamics, they was doing the right thing. They was doing the right thing for everybody else while doing the wrong thing for their own life. And I'm not here to try to turn you into an arrogant man or woman, I'm here to make sure when you are humble, you don't get taken advantage of. The goal is to not become loud. We still want to stay in the quiet, smooth, laid back. You just got to have more structure. I'm learning that the more that we talk about these topics and come to a conclusion that a lot of it has to do with structure, bro. And the structure of so many of us coming from the inner cities and major metropolitan areas and certain demographics is we lack the proper structure to live a functional, healthy life. So a lot of these behaviors have to be relearned because we learned them under a toxic structure, irresponsible structure, untrustworthy structure, whatever it might be. So the goal is to become structured. When you have humility with structure, that's a powerful combination. It means you could still be, nice and kind or whatever it be, but you're just not that accessible. You can be generous, but you're not that available. Go ahead, by all means, practice patience, but don't be passive. It's a difference. You gotta change everything, change about how you speak about your contributions, what you have to offer. A lot of guys think that popping it is bragging, and it might be, but if it's true and it's relevant, it's not. It's just facts. It's just life. When you at work, document what you do. Talk about what you've handled. Don't complain. Don't beg. Just say that project, I finished that. I led this campaign. I handled this complaint. Humble men tend to avoid that because they think the work should speak for themselves. But the truth is, if you don't speak for your work, somebody else will speak for it, and they might try to claim it. The next change I would say, in my opinion, is be selective what you say yes to. If you say yes to everything, then after a while, it's almost expected. It's like an entitlement that comes with it. A man needs to practice saying no. It don't have to be no emotion behind it. It don't even have to be an explanation. A simple, no, I'm straight. And matter of fact, a wise man once told me, in the art of negotiation, the first person to say something loses. So if you sitting down with somebody and they say a price and you say no, you have to say nothing else. Let them say it. Next, I would change your pace. A lot of people get exploited by rushing or getting rushed. Man, can you do this now? Are you free? I need you. Where you at? Hit me back. Let's go. And if you just up and answer, and respond with speed, you're teaching people something else. That your life has no structure. They could just call you any time, any day, and here you come running. No. A man with structure responds with a time. I could do it at Friday at 5, or I'll let you know, or I'll get back to you. Some people come to humble men to dump off what they got. They consider them as empaths. They want a listener. They want somebody to be able to trauma dump on. They want to let you hold them energy so they could be free of it. And the humble man a lot of the time accepts it. That was how you was raised. That's how you was brought up. That was how you taught. It's just in you. It's not on you. And being there is fine, but being drained ain't. You could care about people without letting them use your nervous system. Sometimes the most mature thing a guy can say is, I ain't in the headspace to even conversate about that right now. And if a person can't understand that, then they really didn't want support. You got to change your standards too. How you express yourself. You don't have to argue. You don't have to threaten nobody. When you say something, just simply state how you move and then let it be. Let your behavior do the talking from then on. Because if you keep explaining yourself, you teach people that your standards are negotiable. When you state it once and move accordingly, then you letting people know not only are you a man of your word, but your boundaries and your principles and morals, they real. And you got to be willing to disappoint people who benefit from you, from you being humble. When you upgrade your life, some people going to call you different. They're going to say you changed, you funny acting, you brand new, whatever it might be. But what they really mean is you no longer easy for me to use. You no longer the solution to my problem. And on your end, that's growth. The world doesn't reward being humble the way men were taught it was when we were shorties. It rewards clarity, boundaries, standards. It rewards men who respect themselves enough to protect their peace. Being humble is respected when it's paired with being strong. But when you pair humility with fear, that's how you get exploited. You got to know who you are, man. So keep being humble, remain who you are in your character. Stay calm. But stop shrinking yourself. Stop trying to prove who you are. Stop being scared to pop it. Don't be afraid to tell nobody no. It is what it is. It's High Level Izm, man. And it's your boy. 1.